Joining us now is Frank Luntz, political strategist and longtime Republican pollster. Frank, thanks for being with us. Ann Selzer, the pollster, was just on Morning Joe to talk about that Iowa poll. Take a listen to some of what she had to say.
No one, not including me, would have thought that Iowa could go for Kamala Harris. A lot of other polls, and I'll count Emerson among them, are including in the way that they manipulate the data after it comes in, things that have happened in the past. I don't make any assumptions like that. So it's, in my way of thinking, it's a cleaner way to forecast a future electorate.
Frank, what's your takeaway from that poll? And, you know, Mara was talking about the issue of that abortion ban over the summer. What do you take out of that poll?
It's both meaningful and measurable. It's a shock to the system. And in fact, I believe it's actually going to have an impact on the Iowa vote. When suddenly, because it was inconceivable 72 hours ago, that Democrats could win Iowa. This is the first time that I've ever seen a statewide poll that will potentially change the outcome. It's giving people who would not have voted a reason to participate. I don't believe it's necessarily accurate. I don't like the idea of challenging other pollsters. They all have their own methodology. But if the poll is correct, then we're in the process of seeing numerous polls potentially get it wrong. But I want to emphasize to viewers, I don't believe the survey. I do believe that Harris is getting a great turnout among young women. I do believe that Donald Trump is getting a very strong turnout among union members in the industrial states. And I do think it's too close to call.
It could be an outlier poll, but just to emphasize that this is a poll, reason we're talking about it, that this kind of poll, the Des Moines Register poll, has correctly predicted Iowa's presidential results in every race since 2008. So that's the track record here. And this poll shows Harris winning senior voters, those over 65, with senior women supporting her by a more than 2-to-1 margin. According to NBC News, people age 65 and over make up 40% of the early vote right now, and women have made up more than half of the early vote. So do you see, beyond Iowa, this polling giving us any clues?
Yes, it could be significant. We know that Trump told people don't vote early back 4 years ago, so they didn't. And we do know that state after state after state, the Republican percentage of early vote is either even to the Democrats, slightly above the Democrats, or significantly above. That's clearly a change. I believe that it's simply an effort to get to the polls early so that you don't have to wait in line, so you don't get stuck for 2 hours. But it does indicate to me that we're going to have a very high turnout, that everyone is engaged in this, and a high turnout. It's unclear. Trump benefits because he has more low propensity voters. Harris benefits because for her, the key are women 18 to 35. And if they're engaged and they're voting, you're going to see a completely different shift in the demographics. And that's good news for her. I can make the case for either presidential campaign right now, which is why it's really unsafe for someone in my profession to do it.
And right now, Trump is walking out to his rally in North Carolina. We're monitoring that event as we're monitoring all the campaign events today. But these are live images from North Carolina.
And Frank, obviously the polls were off in 2016 by a lot, but then there were some polls off in 2020. I'm thinking Wisconsin. Have pollsters, you think, solved the issue of underestimating Trump support, or is there a risk of actual overcorrection on Trump?
And that's it. It's the overcorrection. And that's why I'm not willing to make a prediction. Based on the polling that I see, Harris wins nationwide by about 2%. But Trump is likely, I'm so afraid to even say this. I acknowledge to you and to the viewers that every time I've articulated where there's been a small lead, somehow it's been misinterpreted, misquoted, or otherwise meant to use as a hammer against the other side. Harris is leading in Wisconsin. I absolutely believe that. Trump is leading in Georgia and Arizona. I believe that. But that is not a projection of what happens nationwide. And these are only indications of where those individual states may go. And God help us if we continue to use these small nuggets of fact to make projections that really is not called for at this point.
So what are you watching for as the polls close tomorrow night? Which groups will you be most interested in monitoring?
The group that I want to know more than any else is Dearborn, Michigan, and whether the people who live in Dearborn voted. If they have an incredibly high turnout, that's probably good news for Harris. That probably indicates that she's going to win the state. But if they stayed home and they refused to participate because of the issue of Israel and Gaza, that's really significantly bad news for her. And that's an idea that Trump could take the state. Where Michigan goes is probably where Pennsylvania goes. And I believe Michigan will count the votes quicker. So I'm going to be watching the Michigan vote to give me an idea where Pennsylvania is going to head. And finally, of the other states, Arizona is, to me, the most significant because they've had the most trouble with voter irregularities and accusations of that, which I do not accept. But I will be watching Arizona to see what that count is as well.